Good evening. Welcome to today's reading, Spiritual Hygiene. I hope you guys are well today. My name is Leticia, and it is always a pleasure to come and read with you. As you know, we are reading this book, Spiritual Hygiene by Ayan Levanzant. And amazing book. I have so enjoyed it. And by now, if you are a continued viewer of these videos, you already know that you can get it at Barnes and Nobles. That's really a place where you can get a lot of literature of different genres, maybe $20 to $30, more like $30, I would say, unless the price has changed. But you can get it if you want it. You could also probably order it online. I don't know if that would be cheaper to go through eBay, but a treasure for your library, I'll tell you that. This book has been such a gift to me. I can't say that enough. I'm just appreciative, and my heart is open, overflowing, just so vulnerable towards the divine who just cares for me so well. I'm spoiled, y'all. I hope y'all know that. In the spirit, as I have said on many of my videos, I'm new to this walk of life. And there's a lot of things that I didn't know coming into spirituality. Maybe about a year ago, Spirit began to talk to me about getting my spiritual hygiene together. I'm not a person who is normally into routines, into schedules and all that. I'm more of a go by the flow type of person. It's like, when the ancestors say to move, I move, But I'm learning the value of using time as a resource. That was kind of a couple of chapters back. That is absolutely a resource. I never thought of it that way. And it's one where we are maybe in many ways being called to be responsible with it. And so there's lots of value around that. But there was a time where Spirit was telling me to get my spiritual hygiene together, not just be out here willy wonky, just doing stuff on the whim. And so I didn't at the time understand what that meant. I was like, what does that mean? There's not a lot out. There's a little bit, but not a lot in depth, the way she has broken it down. And, I spent time asking people, which, people gave me they're already popping firecrackers, y'all. Already. It's not even the 4th yet. I don't know if you can hear it, but, I asked people, they gave me their summation of what it was, which was good. It gave me little, tidbits of information here and there. And then lo and behold, a couple of months into this year, I saw that she was releasing this book. And I was like, wow. Now, if that's not an answer to my request, like on such a huge scale, it's amazing. And so I take it personally. I do. And I feel like it was a direct answer to my request, to my prayer, to my petition. And so I couldn't wait to get it. And I ran down and I got it. I was like, okay, many times, we don't know what's coming next after we finish doing a thing. Right before this, I was doing, spiritual work with my energy body, my chakras, and studying, how that applies to life, and doing some healing around that, connecting that to my emotional body, just doing, healing work. And I was about to end that. I had a little break with that because I ended up moving. And so that was paused, but I felt the need to go ahead and wrap that up, which I did in preparation for this. And so everything just comes at the right moment, and so many times Spirit will tell us to be present in this moment. Everything that you need is going to come when it's time. And though sometimes I do struggle with that because I am a Sag and I like to know, information is my friend. It helps me to feel safe. And so, but sometimes Spirit requires for us to walk by faith, to walk without seeing evidence, but just to believe. And sometimes Spirit will challenge us to manifest it. If it doesn't exist, create it. You create the life that you want. What does that look like? Well, I don't know. And so there's some work sometimes that Spirit causes us to have to do some soul searching and do, which is okay. I'm not complaining. I'm so thankful But that's what led me to this book, Spiritual Hygiene by Iyanla Vanzant, which I'm so grateful for. A practical path for clean living, inner authority, and divine freedom. And so this week, we are going into chapter, I believe it's chapter 14. Yes, chapter 14. Last week we did chapter 13, which was all about living from the core. Living from the core. We talked about this innate sense of knowledge that lives within us, that we don't have to get from anywhere else. All we have to do is go within and pull it out and remember, because it's there. We were born with it. It is attached to our very blueprint that we've been given, right, for this lifetime. It's there. We just have to dig into it and, position ourselves to access it. We talked about being in alignment with our core, what that feels like, tapping into that knowing. And when we break those agreements, what that looks like, what that feels like as well. So we talked about living from our core last week, and we also looked at some different rituals that we can do to keep us connected and centered, because, we got to just be real. Like, nothing is perfect. Nothing will ever be perfect. And though there are times where we feel like we are in the pocket, like, just leave me right here. Everything is so perfect. Don't move. Don't go anywhere. Just stay right here. The truth of the matter is, it does not stay right there. We have to move. We have to do things. And sometimes in the process of doing things and moving and going about life, we do get misaligned. But the good thing is that we know how to realign. So we talked about that last week. We looked at the checklist, checking our inner truth, our emotional integrity, our sacred boundaries, and then what it means to relate that to spiritual hygiene. Right. And so we broke all those things down. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch the video from last week. It's a jewel. Okay. All of the videos are free. And so you can access them in my playlist for spiritual hygiene. Okay. All right. As you know, we always open with a prayer, and we will definitely do that this week. This meditation that will help us to enter into this chapter through ritual. Okay, through acknowledgement, through presence, through stillness. For this open meditation, for boundaries, alignment, and courage to reclaim yourself. And it says, Holy Presence, guardian of my breath, keeper of my becoming, I come to this threshold ready to remember that no is a secret weapon. It is a way home. In the past, I have said yes when my body trembled. In the past, I have said yes when my truth was whispering otherwise. In the past, I have said yes to be loved, to be safe, to belong. But now, I choose to belong to myself. Teach me the holiness of refusal. Let my no be anointed in wisdom. Let it rise from the deepest parts of me without defense, as devotion. When I say no, let it not be from reverence. When I say no, let it cleanse what is not mine. When I say no, let it close the doors that lead me away from my wholeness. I give my permission to protect my sacred interior. I give my permission to withdraw from what depletes me, without guilt, without shame, without apology. May this chapter be a sanctuary of reclamation. May I trust that every no I speak as my truth makes space for a more holy, whole, embodied yes. I ask, I allow, I become. Amen. Ashe, Ao, and so it is. This comes right on time. The sacred no. I have a sacred no rising up out of my belly today for the things that don't align, the things that are knocking at my door that don't align. I have a sacred no rising up in my belly. It's truth. So this comes right on time. Chapter 14, page 262. The sacred no, the sound of self-protection. Let's begin. There is a deep holiness in the word no when it rises from the wisdom of the body. No is a form of self-recognition. It is the soul's way of saying, this is not for me. This is not aligned. This is too much. I am not choosing this now. Many have been taught to override that no. We believe it is honorable to smile through discomfort, to stay when the body tightens, or to say yes out of obligation. We may not realize that anytime you say yes when your body means no, a fracture occurs inside of you, a split between what is true and what is performed. Over time, the fracture becomes fatigue. It becomes resentment. It becomes chronic tension. It becomes disease. So she goes to talk about her daughter, Nisa, again. She says, Nisa had learned not to burden me with her problems. I cannot say I taught her to do it, but I did enable her to do it. Between what she witnessed as a child, how she watched me struggle after I left her father, and how she saw me crumble when her sister, Jamia, died, I totally get why she did not tell me she was a diabetic. I also understand that her no to me was as deeply rooted in not trusting me as it was in not wanting to burden me. She did not trust that I would not make her wrong for being sick. She did not trust that I would not try to force her to heal in the way I thought she should do it. She did not trust me that I would not be disappointed in her because she was not perfect. She did not trust that Ayanla would stand with her in a way that Rhonda could not or would not. You will say no passively or covertly when you do not trust yourself or another person. This no is protective. She also knew that I was working like a fool to reboot my career while raising Jamia's daughter. When Nisa's son told me that her glucose level was fluctuating between 500 and 600, and the medications were not working to bring it down, I had a flashback and a total revelation about why she did not, could not, would not trust me with her secret suffering. It took me all the way back to when Nisa was in second grade. At the teacher's request, I agreed to have Nisa test for possible learning disabilities. The test revealed that she had an emotional disability. The official diagnosis indicated that she had difficulty regulating her emotions, building relationships, and engaging in appropriate behaviors. It was explained to me that students with emotional or behavioral disabilities also had learning difficulties, behavioral problems, and difficulties in social interactions. This explained why she would often make up stories about herself and denying doing certain things. The next part of the diagnosis broke my heart into a million tiny pieces of guilt and shame. The diagnosis of an emotional disability or handicap also included a pervasive mood of unhappiness or depression. The next question that buckled my knees was, are you open to considering medication for Nisa to manage her mind and moods? Absolutely not. The only other alternative was special education classes. I would not be safe for her, or it would not be safe for her, or the other students to keep her in mainstream classes, I was told. Her diagnosis, though painful, was like a mirror inviting me to examine what I had allowed to take root in my mind and in our lives. As I wrestled with the recommendation to medicate her and the reality of moving her into special education, I felt a quiet determination stirring within me that was so much stronger than the fear, shame, and guilt. I knew I had to do something. In fact, I needed to do many different things, or many things differently, excuse me. I realized that her healing was not a one-way street. It would need to be a shared journey, a delicate dance of intention and strategy. If I could bring my mind and life into balance and harmony, I could extend my harmony outward, infusing my home with calmness, my children with joy and love. For the next few days after receiving the diagnosis, I saw Nisa's challenges not as limitations, but as invitations. Get yourself and your life together, girl. However, I had no idea where or how to begin. Day by day, I searched the sacred space of my mental landscape, hoping to find the words and the way to help my daughter and save myself. It never dawned on me that a simple no would suffice. Yeah. And so she says she searched her sacred space of her mental landscape, hoping to find the words and the way to help her daughter and to save herself. But it never dawned on her that a simple no would suffice. I think that's the difficult thing, especially as you're dealing with looking at your children who's sometimes have, health challenges. And it's like one of the difficult things is as parents, we're the ones that are supposed to at some point need the help of our children, not vice versa. We're the ones that are supposed to have our children bury us, not vice versa. And so I just, this is one of the things that touches me deeply. I do have experience in this area, having to care for, those around me with special needs growing up. And so I get it. There's some part of you sometimes that will also in some ways blame yourself like she did. She's like, I didn't necessarily teach it, but I enabled it, right? There's some self-blaming going on here too. The next part says your no is your compass. There are moments when silence becomes complicity. There are places where your accommodation of dishonor, harm, or hurt becomes self-abandonment. There are patterns that only break when you are brave enough to say no. It ends here. A strong no guides your choices just as much as your holy yes. And I'm just seeing a picture of Bugs Bunny. There's like a meme of Bugs Bunny and he's saying no. He's like, no. And his lips are kind of like this. No, right? We need a strong no with that emphasis. With no guilt, with no shame, learn how to say no. No, this doesn't work for me. I'm not interested. No. A strong no guides your choices as much as your holy yes. When you stand in your no in the face of authority or control, it protects your sacred identity and purpose. It filters out what is false and what you do not deserve. It supports and anchors your boundaries. In other words, it will back people up. When you can say no without guilt, you are no longer bound by the need to be liked or loved or accepted. Your no ensures that you are aligned with the need to be true to yourself. It can be both challenging and intimidating to say no, as many of us has been conditioned to prioritize keeping the peace at all costs, avoiding conflict, and proving our goodness or worth through self-sacrifice. These are visitors in our mental temple that must be disinvited. I'm going to use the word evicted. Those are things that must be evicted. Good spiritual hygiene for the mind and healing for the soul require that you ask yourself, am I willing to abandon and betray myself to be accepted? Or am I willing to honor and bless myself by speaking up, walking away, or doing what feels right in my body? Saying no when it is needed is a profound demonstration of self-care, and you must become aware of the whens, whats, whys, and hows that diminish or steal your no. In other words, be aware of your triggers and your weaknesses, because your no is an act of spiritual hygiene, which you determine is necessary for your protection and well-being. It does not require an expansion or an explanation, not an expansion. It doesn't require an explanation, excuse me. When said with intention and conviction, everything and everyone stops when you say no. It is also important to recognize that people may not agree with your no and will attempt by any means necessary to talk you out of it, right? There will be those that don't respect your boundaries. And when you say no several times, they continue to come, they continue to go, they continue to try to step over your boundary while you're saying no. It's a them problem. It's a personal problem. Hoping that at some point, if they keep coming, if they keep going, you'll change your mind. Whether you are 16 or 60, a strong, solid no clears dysfunction in relationships, poor choices and bad habits, polluted physical environments, and conversations that contaminate your spirit. It is the way you say to the universe, I only welcome what is holy, honoring, and aligned with my highest good. When you take the stance, the universe stands with you, not just for peace, but for the return of your own divine presence and the development of a deeper sense of self-awareness. I swear I just had a talk with the universe today about a situation. I'm like, why is this still here? I have said no. I have never said it clearer than now, right? Again, no, I don't want this. I don't want it, period. I'm shouting it at the rooftops. No, right? When we are parents, no is a stance we are required to take with our children, and more importantly, for their sake. I had to position my mind and myself in this way for Nisa. This meant not only would I send her to the recommended special education classes where she would be safe, but I would also have to disinvite myself from the abusive relationship with her father. So much easier thought of and said than done. When the mind is filled with unhealed scripts, even violence can feel normal. My longing to leave was real, but without strong spiritual and mental hygiene, the desire could not become action. With little support and no clear path, fear kept me bound until the breaking point arrived, which included more violence. This is the cost of neglected spiritual hygiene. It blurs clarity, weakens resolve, and delays the freedom our soul longs for. I made two critical errors when I transferred Nisa into the special education class. I made it her fault, and I failed to unpack my own guilt. I told her that because she had lied and stolen things, she could not stay in the school her brother and sister attended. Recognizing now what I said and how I said it makes me a little nauseous. At the time, I was unaware that my need to be a perfect mother would prove I was better than people who raised me. Was shattered by the thought that my children were not perfect. I made up that Nisa's disability was my fault, not only because I stayed in a dysfunctional, violent relationship with her father, but also because of the mental dust and disbelief, or because of the mental dust and belief that I carried that everything was my fault. My feelings of guilt and shame had nothing to do with Nisa, but I laid it in her lap because of poor mental hygiene. 2 weeks after she began classes in a new school, I received a call from the principal that I needed to come pick Nisa up. There had been an incident. When I saw her sitting on the bench in the main office What I thought was a fury I had never experienced shot straight up my spine. I later realized it was not fury. It was my no. WTF. We know what that stands for, right? Her bottom lip was swollen and crusted with dried blood. One of her eyes was swollen shut. The no in my presence produced a scream from my mouth that brought everyone in the office to a standing position. One of the women was shouting, "Hold on, wait." While she scrambled from her desk to get the principal, responding to the scream, he appeared like a puff of smoke and invited me into his office. Suddenly, a sense of calm fell over me, and I followed him in. What I failed to do was embrace my daughter. I did not soothe her wounds or ask her what happened. I left her sitting on the bench alone to figure out on her own what I was going to do and what would happen next. The principal explained that another student in the class who was severely handicapped had an episode with the teacher. In response, he threw a chair at Nisa. He then attacked the teacher. This caused other students, including Nisa, to come to her defense. In the end, it was Nisa who beat the crap out of the boy with the chair he threw at her. In the process, she sustained injuries that I witnessed. The calm I felt was eerie. One at a time, I could hear thoughts float into my mind. Where was the other student? Where were his parents? The boy received medical attention and was sent home. I was told I could, if I chose to, press criminal charges. Why were his parents not present? These things happen in special education classrooms. There is no way to predict or prevent them. These children have severe learning and behavioral disabilities. The principal was sorry, but there was nothing more they could do. What was the school's intention to address this matter and prevent it from ever happening again? Was that student expected to and allowed to return to class? These were questions that I had. The parents had been instructed to keep him home for 3 days, after which he would return to class. His attendance was mandated by the state. The school could not deny the child admission because it was not her fault. Nisa was cleared to return the next day. Oh, hell no. On that day, in defense of my child, my no for her was solid. As is so common for people raised in an environment of dysfunction and violence, they will do for others before they recognize that they deserve the same consideration. In that moment, I did not see my face in Nisa's face. I felt my pain and recognized my dishonor. I did not remember how to cover a busted lip or a black eye. I also knew in the deepest recesses of my being that all violence of any kind was no longer invited into the temple of my mind, my home, or my life. And it certainly could not, would not be visited upon my children. I was a yeller. I threatened, which in some cases was equally dysfunctional, but I rarely used my hands or anything else to strike my children. Without realizing it, I had already broken a family pattern. It was unconscious, but it was also a new practice. Unfortunately, the practice did not mitigate the energetic violence and dysfunction that I had taught my children was acceptable. Nisa never attended another class in school. Somehow, with the support of a dear friend, I managed to find the money to enroll her in a small Christian school with 10 children in each class. More importantly, I began a more consistent, earnest, and sincere prayer and meditation practice. I was shocked to realize how difficult it was for me to sit still for more than 2 minutes. Using prayer and periods of silence and stillness, I began to notice that I still believed I was the cause of my pain. I also believed that I expected love to turn violent. What often buckled my knees was the awareness that I did not believe it was safe to see, face, or speak the truth. Truth was dangerous. So I had convinced myself that living a lie was the only way to stay safe. This was the dusty residue that I held in my mind that I had passed on to my baby girl, Nisa. And so we're coming back around to this generational pain. that plagues our families sometimes. And it's in connection to us being able to assert ourselves and to voice what needs to be said honestly, authentically, whatever we're feeling in that moment. In this case, it's being able to say no, or being able to draw lines, or being able to say what's not okay. Even if the whole society is saying it's okay, or a whole mass of people are saying that it's okay, if that thing don't sit right within you, right? Having the gall to stand up and say no, or when enough is enough. Even if it makes you the bad person or the villain, right? Sometimes fear is a very powerful drug, and it keeps us subdued. It keeps us under arrest, right? And so this is a very good, this is something really good, because even when we're talking about violence here, situations that kind of have this very sneaky, coercive energy, right? And that can come across in any way, just like she was dealing with her daughter in school with this situation that happened in the classroom. It's like, oh, heck no. She'll never return back to that classroom. Like, knowing when to stand up and let it be known that enough is enough. And that can happen in any, situation. And it's like some of the things, it's just, I don't even want to talk about, because it turns my stomach just to think about it. Certain situations that people get away with, people that are in power, it turns my stomach. And I'm thinking of, Diddy, the Epstein files, like all of that low vibrational stuff that people have been getting away with for years, and coercing people through violence and intimidation, through power. And it just turns my stomach to think that things like that, happen. And it's not even so much behind closed doors. It's like really out in the open, because silence is complicity. People watched these things happen, and they chose not to say anything because they didn't want to ruin their relationship, or ruin their opportunities to advance in life. I don't know what the reason could be, right? But there was something that caused them to turn their cheek to what they had an obligation to stand up for and correct and report. It turns my stomach. And so the next part says the necessity of a solid no. No. Do I need to spell it out for you? N-O spells no. Go do something safe, okay? A shaky no leaves the door open to misalignment. A solid no, rooted in clarity, integrity, and embodiment, is a boundary made sacred. It is the anchor that keeps your energy intact. It is the shield that preserves your peace. It is the devotion that protects your purpose. Without a solid no, the body becomes a battleground of contradiction. You say yes with your mouth while your shoulders curl forward. You show up out of duty while your chest tightens and your breath shortens. You give more than you have and then wonder why you feel spiritually bankrupt. This is not spiritual generosity. This is somatic betrayal. To have a solid no is not to become rigid or unkind. It is standing with clarity. Your body and your energy are clear, which communicates to your nervous system that you are taking a stand for self-respect. The necessity of a solid no is rooted in 3 sacred truths. The first one is the nervous system needs consistency. When you override your truth to accommodate others, your body becomes confused about what is safe. This confusion creates chronic stress. But when your no is firm and loving, your body begins to relax. It trusts you again. It knows you will not abandon yourself. Number 2, Your boundaries teach others how to meet the divine in you. A soft yes when you mean no creates resentment, which seeps into your energy and your relationships. A solid no, offered with grace, creates trust. It teaches others that your yes means something and that your time, presence, and energy are not for sale, right? We teach people how to treat us by what we accept. Number 3, your soul requires alignment to thrive. Saying yes to what drains you means saying no to what could restore you. Your no makes space for joy, creativity, sacred assignments, rest, and revelation. If you find it hard to say no, inquire within yourself. Where did I learn that my no was a problem? Where did we learn that? Or who taught me that love required self-abandonment or sacrifice? We're not going to go down that rabbit trail today. What fear arises when I consider honoring my limits? What is the fear that arises, right? These are not small questions. They are soul questions for which your body holds and knows the answer. Okay, so we're going to take a sacred pause right here. And this has given me a lot to think about. Not only me saying no, but me also being sensitive and respecting others in their setting boundaries as well. Powerful. So in this pause, we're looking at the rooted no, a rooted no from the deep recesses of your shata, of your belly. So some things that we can do to kind of, if you have issues saying no, not everybody is there, not everybody has learned. I'm just talking like I'm just so bold because I just stepped into my no. I just stepped into my, assertiveness. Because I used to be a people pleaser. I did. And, learning them hard lessons. You get tired of going around that mulberry bush. You do. But if you are still having issues saying no, there's some things that we can do. You can stand flat-footed with your feet on the ground, hip width apart. Place your hand on your solar plexus, which is right underneath your, right above your, it's like right around your navel. Yeah, right around your navel, maybe a little bit above your navel. And then feel your feet planted on the earth. Feel the connection between your feet and the earth and speak loud, slowly, and clearly. No, I do not consent to this. I choose alignment. Okay. Yeah. Say it loudly, clearly, and slowly. No, I do not consent to this. Notice where your body tightens when you say that and where it relaxes. Repeat that until you feel grounded in your stance. Okay, just keep saying it until it feels like it's grounded in your stance. When that happens, then you can add this prayer, this embodied prayer. I am no longer confused. I no longer confuse accommodation with love. I no longer confuse accommodation with love. I no longer trade peace for approval. I no longer abandon myself to be chosen. My no is sacred. My no is whole. My no is enough. Okay. So let's talk about the holy yes. If your no is a gatekeeper, your yes is the sacred threshold. Offering a pure yes without fear or as a trauma-induced reaction makes it holy. It grows from your soul and is offered as worship to your heart. Your holy yes is not a reflex. It is not the people-pleasing, self-abandoning yes that rushes out to soothe discomfort or avoid rejection. It is not the yes that lives in the throat while the body braces itself. It is not the yes that makes itself in duty and calls it devotion. The holy yes rises from the base of your soul. It resonates through your chest. It breathes through your belly. It expands you, aligns you, softens you. A true yes is never made in haste. It is born in and with alignment. Make no mistake about it, the body knows the difference. A distorted yes contracts the body in dread, while a holy yes expands it in peace. Okay. Where a performative yes drains your energy, a holy yes feeds it. Oh, I love that. So a holy yes says, this is right for me, not just expected of me, like it's aligned. Or this feels true, like deep in my bones, not just logical in my mind. This supports my wholeness, not just someone else's comfort. Okay. To say yes from your spirit is to step into sacred agreement with your soul. This yes does not come from the mouth alone. It moves through your being. It says yes to rest, even when the world demands performance. Yes to receiving, even when you are only praised for giving. Yes to joy, even when your history trained you for survival. Yes to embodiment, even when you have lived in your head to avoid pain. Yes to truth, even when it costs you acceptance or approval. Your holy yes is the result of being attuned, not just agreeable. When you begin to live from this attunement, your life takes on a different frequency. You become less reactive, more intentional. You stop chasing what no longer resonates for you or within you. You stop performing to be loved. You start creating from the center of your being. This is spiritual hygiene at its highest level. A body in agreement with the soul. A yes that is clean, clear, and consecrated. And so we end out with another pause as we look at the embodied yes. Yeah. I've never really given a lot of thought about the aligned or the embodied yes. So that's given me something to think about. In the last sacred pause of this chapter, we sit quietly and breathe deeply. Place our hand over our heart. And we can speak aloud. I say yes to what honors my wholeness. I say yes to what aligns with my soul. I say yes to my divine unfolding. And then we ask your soul for clear guidance. Ask for clear guidance. And it's okay to ask. If you're unsure of something, ask. Say it out loud. And the answer will come. Ask your soul for clear guidance. Call choice, decision, or opportunity to mind. Breathe into the question, does this expand or contract my energy? So this requires a little bit of body awareness, right? Do you know what it feels like when your energy expands or it feels like it has been released? Do you know what it feels like when your energy contracts or something contracts in your body, in your energy? So this is going to require a little bit of a energetic awareness and for you to allow your body to speak. Allow the yes or no. to rise from within. Let the words you hear or the insights you receive echo through your bones. Now that's deep. Let it echo through your bones. This is not performance. This is sacred inquiry. Like you are searching within yourself. And when we do that, this sacred inquiry, we'll be able to tell if the yes that we receive, whether it's holy or not. Yeah, I like this. I like this. The sacred no. So that ends our level 3. This chapter will end it. We have a small little excerpt leading into level 4 as we conclude level 3. It's called the Sacred Return, the Reclamation of Self. I'm going to save that. I'm not going to go into that because this is worthy of chewing on. The sacred no. Ooh, this is deep. It's always amazing to me how things come at the right time. Like this is so appropriate for me. It's so appropriate for me. Like Spirit is like talking to me about a whole bunch of stuff right now. Very enlightening. And so I hope this was enlightening for you as well. The sacred no. The sound of self-protection. Yeah. And I'm going to leave it there. Okay. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you feel led to do so. Comments if you are nudged in your body. But this might be something that we can kind of delve into as we go into our next week, like as you're interacting with people and as you're out and about in public and talking with people, and, you know, kind of be aware of your body as you're interacting. Gauge what that is. If it requires a yes or a no, like test it and see. Test your energy, tap into your energy and see what's happening there, how you are responding and engaging with others when it calls for a response, an answer, a yes or no. Test it and see how that feels. Yeah. And so that's the lesson today. Thank you, Iyanla. Again, this has been a reading from the book Spiritual Hygiene by Iyanla Vanzant. Practical Path for Clean Living, Inner Authority, and Divine Freedom. Something I feel like is very much needed. And so share it if you feel like this would be beneficial for someone else. Yeah. And I guess I manifest whoever's supposed to see this will come across this page. And if you are a returned viewer from other sessions, thank you for stopping back by, for lending your energy and, you know, this activity. I appreciate it. And so until next time, we will see you. Take care and test it out. Okay. Your sacred no. Powerful. Yeah. And that's it for today. My name is Leticia, and I will see you all next time. Okay. All right. Bye.